Pugh. That'll do it! That will do it! Pugh for Bournemouth! The roof of the Gold Sands is raised! Everyone here knows what that could mean to this football.
Hello, good afternoon, Bournemouth fans. Well, that was pretty uninspiring, wasn't it? Not really too sure what to make of it. It was Nottingham Forest 0, Bournemouth 0 at the City Ground. Not even sure what the highlights were. Good luck at getting any decent footage out of that. On Tuesday night, it was clear what the highlights were, right? It was Sam Surridge and Philip Billing. They showed a great partnership and they worked really well together. It was one of our most complete performances in a while. Today, though, they were brought on after about 80 minutes. Didn't make sense to me. I understand we've got to rotate, but it seemed that we might have waited a little bit too long to bring on some players who might have changed up the game. Let's make it clear, though. I think Forest, they were good, they were well drilled, and they displayed all the signs of a Chris Hughton team, if ever there was one. He's got them well drilled, they're defensively disciplined, and you know that's what he's done for other teams, and that's what he'll do for Forest. As the game wore on, we found it increasingly difficult to get in behind, and they continued to sit back. And whilst they did have isolated chances, they fully deserve the point. I don't think the actual match itself deserved a scoreline any different to what we saw. So it was 0-0. We'd love to have your views. And if you want to take part today, the link is at the bottom of the screen. And I've also posted it in the chats on YouTube and Facebook as well. Just look out for the link, click it, and I'll try to get you in as soon as possible. Please be patient, though, because it does tend to fill up really quickly. So, yeah, that's how to take part. AFCBpodcast.com/take part. I'm pleased to say that our first guest today is Cherries fan Sammy. Sammy, how are you?
Yeah, not bad. Well, to be fair, a little bit bored, to be honest. But, you know, I'm all right, thank you.
Good. Did you fall asleep during that? Because I wouldn't be surprised if you did.
I literally did, to be honest with you. I literally did. I didn't watch it. I was listening on the radio, and at one point I just heard a bit of commentary get a little bit lively, and I was like, okay, yeah, I am actually asleep. So,
yeah. It was a bit of a bore fest, and I wonder if Morgan thinks the same as well. Morgan Scott is with us too. Hello, Morgan. You all right?
Hi, are you all right?
Yeah. What do you think?
First place to ask is why wasn't Sam Surridge on that team sheet? Like, that was the first name, in my opinion, that should have been on that that sheet at 2:00. I just don't understand why he wasn't starting. Surridge was going to be brought on, and then he got told to put his coat back on, which I don't understand. He should have been brought on 45 minutes in my opinion. I said it at half time. Brooks and keep Sam on to make sure we come out with the game with 3 points. And I think Surridge didn't have enough time. But what I would like to say, Sam, if I may, is Surridge, you see his work effort up front. He came back into the defensive role and started nipping the ball up. Okay, I think it came off a player and he gave the ball away and then it went back up to him. But he's just magnificent. He always makes a difference. And he scored against Burnley. Why is he not starting? We're short of goals at the moment, and we need someone who can score a goal. And he's the man, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a really dreary watch. Daniel was in Florida, so he'll have had to wake up earlier than that. I think what was it, Daniel? 7:30 your time?
7:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, you know, well done for waking up. And unfortunately, though, Daniel, it wasn't exactly a brilliant game to watch, was it? Pretty boring, eh?
No, it was not the best to watch after last performance, and I was so confused when Sam didn't go on because I missed 1 minute because I was trying to upload the game. So I was so confused because I didn't see the team sheet yet. So I was like, I didn't know who was playing, and then when I saw, I was very confused. And then I feel like it all went down from there. When Steve Cook got injured, I feel like that's when we kind of suffered a little bit.
I don't know about you, Sammy, but for me, I haven't got that resentment or anger or frustration in this performance. I'm just kind of thinking, like it's another draw away. And I mean, we've drawn a lot at home. We've lost a lot at home, but it's a draw away at a side that previously we've always found it relatively tough to go to. So for me, how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, they're on a good run as well, to be fair. So I'm not disappointed with the result. It just seemed to go back to that boring, like, what are we doing on the pitch? Like, there was no performance, there was no urgency up front. It just seemed, and like you say with Surridge, it's like, I don't know why he didn't start, but not only that, why did he only get given 10 minutes? You know, if he'd come on a bit earlier. I think Brooks made a bit of, you know, Brooks has been poor recently, but he definitely seemed to have a bit more of a buzz when he came on today. So
yeah, I thought so as well. I mean, there were some players, Morgan, that I was looking at thinking, my goodness, you're making the same errors time and time again. And obviously, you know, we've got an issue on that left side. And ideally, you know, you would put someone else that isn't Lloyd Kelly or Diego Rico out there, based on the fact that they're almost exchanging positions each and every game. But it looks like Lloyd Kelly now is going to be in that central defensive spot after that Steve Cook injury. What a blow after 4 minutes, eh?
Massive blow, and after I spoke, he's just a really nice, down-to-earth person. He's the leader of AFC Bournemouth. He's our club captain, and you never want to have an injury. Bournemouth have suffered and we only just got our squad back together again, and he's a massive blow. We had the news this week that Mark Travers has been recalled from Swindon Town, and Begovic is even playing with a knock. You could see that. So it's a massive blow, and you know, you got the likes of Jack Stacey, Dom Solanke, who sometimes he doesn't turn up, but he has been putting in the goals, and that's what we need. So we've gone from having a full fit squad again, and I know every team has it, but now we've got lots of key players that are potentially going to be missing, and that's not that helpful when we're trying to get back to the Premier League and potentially get to Wembley.
Yeah, Daniel, it's ironic, isn't it, that we shipped Jack Simpson out to Rangers, and then only a few games later, it seems, we have an issue with with one of our best defenders there. Can you hear me okay, Daniel? Oh, no, of course, he needs to be unmuted. Yeah, sorry, Daniel. So, yeah, Steve Cook's going to be a huge miss for us, isn't he?
Yeah, and I am so kind of upset that Kelly was the replacement for Cook, because I feel like he's one of like those defenders that makes the most mistakes. So putting him on for a replacement, it kind of got me thinking that's not going to be good. So if that happens next week, I won't say we should put Kelly in the middle. I will say it would be better if we put maybe maybe even Rico, because I don't trust Kelly. After what he did in the Derby game, other games, he's not trust. And when Jason Tyndall was here, Jason Tyndall for some reason loved Kelly, so Kelly was always on. So now I don't really see Kelly being in the middle, because Kelly's not that type of player. So hopefully he's not in the middle.
Yeah, very true. The games are going to be coming thick and fast this month, Sammy. So maybe you can excuse Jonathan Woodgate for rotating people like Sam Surridge and Filippo Billing in a fixture where, Forest are very well drilled. They can be physical. I've seen them play previously before. So maybe he just wanted to rest them and thought that the people that we did have would probably be enough to win it. Because when you look at the quality of that starting 11, it was still pretty good, even without Sam Surridge and Filippo Billing, right?
It was good, but you say rest Surridge, but has he actually played enough to need a rest?
Good point.
Very good point. It's just it seems to be every manager just seems to not put him on. I mean, maybe they're seeing something in training we're not seeing when he's on the pitch. I don't know, but it just seems to be that no one's ever given him a fair shot.
Yeah,
proving himself.
You're right. Very good point. Sammy, thank you so much for coming on.
No worries.
Hope to see more of you again soon. And we are hopefully going to come up with an idea for next month, aren't we?
I have an idea. You will be amazed.
Love it, Sammy. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
See you later.
Cheers, Sammy. Thank you very much. And Daniel, also, thank you very much for coming on today.
Bye, guys.
Cheers, mate. Thank you, Morgan. I'll leave you in for a bit because you look as though you've got more to say. One person that I know definitely has got more to say will be John Spark, who's with us. John Spark is joining in now, and he's joined by Ben. So Ben is with us too, aka Cockbeard on Twitter. And also we've got AFCB Latvia, that's Robert standing by. We've got Aaron and David Codron as well. So we'll bring you in ASAP. John, go for it. How are you?
Yeah, I think it's very disappointing the way that we just weren't able to really make anything happen in that game. But the positive I can take is at least that it's a point. You know, there are worse teams that we played against that we didn't get anything from. So that's something. But I'm just a bit frustrated at the lack of switching things up when it clearly wasn't going to get us to get anything more than a point by the hour mark. Like, the thing that's an easy question that I think anyone that watched that game could ask is, like, why is it that when we had exactly the same back six, well, okay, swap Cook and Kelly out, why did that work at getting us forward against Burnley, but why didn't it work in this game? And it's really quite simple. It was a 4-4-2 against Burnley. We had the man advantage in midfield. Billing was always free, and Surridge was moving well. And most importantly, you had Junior Stanislas on the left. By having him on the right, you completely cut out the best part of his game, which is drifting into that central position and taking up open pockets of space that allow for passes infield to come to. The amount of time you saw Pearson look up, Lerma look up, and no one is moving, particularly Janjuma. My God, there is nothing less of a captain's performance than what Danjuma did in that game. The amount he just stood on the far side and just waited for the ball to come to him, didn't make the movement forward. Just incredibly frustrating. And just a comment, I think, on the whole Shane Long, Sam Surridge thing. I think there's probably some sort of contractual obligation to make sure that Shane Long plays a certain amount of time. Because people are saying, why doesn't Surridge play more? It's like, well, one, we have a vested interest in Sam Surridge. Woodgate, that's not going to be necessarily the case. And there is definitely going to be some level of obligation to make sure that Shane Long plays a certain amount of time, I would say, just as a suggestion. So I certainly would have liked to have seen Surridge come on earlier. I think just getting Stanislas over to that left, you can see how much he did in the last 10-15 minutes, Stanislas, in comparison to what Danjuma did in 75. That change needs to be happening much quicker. It's just, as much as Woodgate has set us up well and has brought us back to a sort of where we expect us to be to an extent in the previous two games, it wasn't working and it needed changing quicker. And that's something that I think a more experienced manager would do.
Yeah. And what is it with these loan signings, you know, if that is the case with regards to Shane Long? Because it seemed to be that Harry Wilson was one of them as well last season as well, because we seem to play him more than his performances warranted, which, you know, granted, he scored a load of goals for us. So, you know, maybe you could argue it with that. But Ben, watching today, how did you feel after that?
Still waiting to watch a match, really. About the loan signings, I mean, I remember Eddie saying years and years ago that he'd rather not dip into the loan market, rather develop our own, which is something we've done a lot of recently. I say recently, up until right now. And I just wonder whether I think John's probably right that we have got some obligation to give him a certain amount of minutes. But if that's going to stunt the growth of our own players, is it really worth it? And from what I saw today, the answer is definitely not. But then, I mean, from what we saw today, there was just a complete lack of urgency all over the pitch. As soon as Cook went off, and I know it was only 3 minutes, so there wasn't much that happened before it. Second half, there was only really, well, what was it, about 75 minutes when Smudger went through and crossed a beautiful ball into absolutely nobody because Long was already ahead of it. There just seems to be nothing. I'm not saying every attack we need to make an opportunity, but then I suppose actually, every time we have the ball, we should be looking to make an opportunity. Now, if we're going to play 3 in the middle or 1 up front, then we need to break the lines. Okay, and Lewis is the best player we have for doing that. Even though he plays a little bit further back, he's great at just breaking those lines, getting forward. Him and Wilshere in a kind of diamond, maybe that would be, you know, front and back of the diamond. Maybe that's where we need to go. But then it sacrifices wingers that we've always had, and always it's the Bournemouth way, as it were. But then again, if we are going to play wingers, then I think we need 2 up front, and 2 that will, you know, actually attack across. There was a few really good balls that went over, but there was nobody to receive them. I saw 3 or 4 really good crosses that came in and were allowed to bounce in the area. So it wasn't even like the Forest defence were doing anything about them because they were bouncing in the area, you know? It's extremely frustrating for me.
Very frustrating. Morgan, before we let you go and we rotate it, obviously there's a lot of talk about new managers. Towards the end of last week, it looked like David Wagner was pole position for the job, but they're certainly taking their time on it and crossing the I's and dotting the T's, or the other way around. Is there one that you would favour at this point in terms of a managerial appointment?
I'm still not quite sure if I'm honest. And the reason for that is it's been Eddie and JT for some, Eddie Howe for the last 10 years or so, and then you've got Jason Tyndall. That it was the right decision, in my opinion, that they did let him go when they did in the end, because we weren't performing at the best. But having said that, it's still a bit odd to not see Eddie and JT on that touchline. I think Woodgate's done an okay job since he's come in, but I'm not blaming him specifically, but we should have won that game. So we do need someone with a big CV. So it's probably looking like someone like Wagner. That's still not the choice I would make, but then I'm not a football manager. Someone said on YouTube the other day that I should be the manager. So we'll have to wait and see if that ever comes in. But something's got to change, because we should be grinding out results. That performance wasn't the worst I ever seen, but there wasn't just enough in the attacking third. You're not going to win a football match if you don't have many chances. And I think the only player that I could give a man of the match to would be Junior Stanislas, because he was the only one who I saw actually do something attacking wise. I think he had that little shot in the first half that could have gone into the top right hand corner of it, being a 2 centimetre bigger. But apart from that, there's not too much that springs to mind. But the good thing is that we only got 72 hours until the next game against Rotherham when they under the camera. So it is good that it comes quick. There's only a couple more sessions and not too much time to look back at it. And hopefully we can keep a bit more momentum and push on. At least we haven't dropped points completely and lost today. So it's a step in the right direction, but we need to achieve better if we want to go back up.
Brilliant. Morgan Scott, you said
Thank
it perfectly
you.
there. Thank you very much. That's Morgan Scott. Follow him on Twitter at Morgan Scott UK. And in the meantime, we're going to bring in Robert, who's audio only. He is from Latvia. So we're going to bring him out in now. Robert, how are you?
Yeah. It was just boring. What a game. I thought I saw only 2 shots. That was a horrible game. I went for snacks on 4th minute. I come back, I see Kelly. I was like, what happened to Cock?
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hi. What's up? Yeah, I saw there was no Cock, and I was like, yeah, we're done. But now, 0-0, but I'm really, really disappointed. 0-0. I almost fell asleep. That was a horrible game, I think. We should play much better.
Yeah, we should have. What are your thoughts on Woodgate so far, Robert? Because he's getting a lot of praise for the way he speaks to the media. Obviously, we haven't seen much behind the scenes of how he is with the players, but he's certainly impressive from that perspective. What are your thoughts on him and also the new manager of AFC Bournemouth? Who do you think it should be?
Of course, I think Woodgate hasn't been really, really bad. He hasn't really lost a lot of games because he only just came in a Bournemouth job. But I think, he's not the best, but he's not the worst. He's average. But who knows? Because Eddie Howe, was he like? Was everybody saying, "Oh yeah, he's very good" 10 years ago? Nobody said he was really, really good, and nobody said Bournemouth will be in Premier League. Nobody said that.
No, very, very true. Which part of Latvia are you in, Robert?
I am in part of Zemgale. It's really close to Lithuania. I don't know how you say that. Yeah. I love Bournemouth. I have been watching games since I was 9. I went to Bournemouth when I was 9. Bournemouth is a pretty city, a cool place overall.
Yeah, fair play. It is pretty cool. It's very cold at the moment. In fact, actually, it's freezing. Robert, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah. See ya. Bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. That is Robert. And any closing remarks from you two before we switch it up? John, have you? For me, it's the kind of feeling isn't of anger and frustration like I have with previous draws, like I said earlier on.
It's
just
meh.
almost meh.
Yeah.
Almost just resigned to those kind of matches happening every so often, and we've seen a fair few of them recently, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty abject. I think sort of, apathy is quite a strong feeling after that one, to be honest. I think my favorite comment afterwards, a friend of mine called Todd, who I went to school with on Twitter, who lives and works in Korea, he put on to AFC Bournemouth, can you please consider releasing today's match as a DVD? I've had trouble sleeping recently, but I think sticking this game on as I go to sleep will be a perfect cure for my insomnia. And I think that's probably the perfect way to come back from that, to be honest, because we can't really look at that as terms of anything to see that we need to do going forward. But it's not as if we were terrible defensively. I think as much as Nottingham Forest didn't press us high, they certainly knew what they were doing. They put in a low block and they defended very well, as much as they made sure they marked their men and they didn't give us any space. So we didn't let ourselves get caught on the counter, which is something that we've done a lot of times versus these kinds of teams. So we can say at least defensively it was good, but it completely stifled us going forward. So we need to be looking at how we can shake that up if that happens again mid-game, or just come up with a better solution to make sure it doesn't happen again before we even start the game. It's a quick turnaround to Rotherham, and I certainly don't want to see that again in a couple of days' time.
John, appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, John. That's John Spark. And make sure you go follow him on Twitter. And Jeff makes a good point here, Ben, saying in 2015, we played Forest away in February and lost 2-1. And following that game, we went unbeaten until the end of the season and won the league. A bit of positivity to end it, eh?
Possibly, although I don't think we'll keep enough players to win anything next season if we carry on playing like this. Just on the manager thing, Jonathan Woodgate's doing absolutely nothing wrong. No, but the results, are they him imposing himself on the team, or is it just the fact that we are probably the first, second, or third best team in this division, without doubt, when you look at the quality of the squad? And having lost 4 games on the bounce, we reverted to our average again. I mean, we're not supposed to lose 4 games on it in a row. That sounds so arrogant. And if you'd have asked me 10 years ago if I'd ever be saying that about the Championship, obviously I wouldn't. But I mean, has he done anything? I don't know. And that's not me saying he's bad. I mean, he does come across great in the interviews and the press conferences. But were we right to pull the trigger on Jason? I don't know. I really don't know yet.
Hard to say. Ben, thanks so much for coming on, mate.
Thank you. Good night.
Nice one. Cheers. Thank you very much. That's Ben. Right. So next we're going to bring in Kirk Tovey, who is with us from Cherries Red Army. Kirk, you all right?
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Also standing by David, who's been here for quite a while. David, how are you, mate? You all right?
Good, mate. You?
Yeah, very good. And also we've got Ali, who's here. By the way, next is Aaron, James, Filippo, and also another James. And Ali is here too. Ali, hopefully you can hear us okay. Oh, he's just gone. So in the meantime, then, we'll bring in Aaron standing by. Ali, if you want to come back, you're more than welcome. Aaron, how are you?
I'm good. Right, David? Long time no see.
Mate, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Time. I don't think I'll get over to see you for a while.
Yeah.
Super, bit of a reunion going on here, loving it. Kirk, though, I mean, explain that. It was a hard watch, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Did we see the real Woodgate today? I mean, his Middlesbrough team with the lowest goal scorers in the Championship when he was in charge, and we didn't look like scoring today. But there's an argument, I suppose, to say that we've played like this many times this season under JT. So is it Woodgate or the players? But yeah, it was a bit disappointing, frustrating. Defensively, I thought we protected our back four quite well with Pearson and Lerma, but we weren't brave enough on the ball. A stat that I've brought up before, Sam, is that at the end of the game, Danjuma had 27 touches. Wilshere had 28. Lloyd Kelly, who only played 85 minutes, had 68. And that tells you everything, that you've got to get your creative players, the players that can hurt teams and win you football matches on the ball. And it's just not good enough.
Where do you think it went wrong, and who do you think underperformed today? Because I keep looking at that left side, and I hate to do it, but Diego Rico I found very frustrating today with little short passes that going straight to the opposition, crosses that were always getting cut out. But it wasn't just him, to be fair. No one could seemingly cross the ball today. He was one of a number of players that just weren't on it.
Yeah, I thought Rico had an okay game defensively. I thought he was better. He got himself out to those wide areas, but he just can't cross the ball this season. We had a diagonal tactical game to play the ball out to Smith from our back four. That worked in the first half, got some really good crosses in from Adam Smith. I thought he was okay today. I thought he had a better game. But we just didn't really have anyone there to hurt or get on the end of it. Shane Long for himself at one of the crosses, but wasn't good enough. Danjuma, I'm starting to see now that the best that we get out of Danjuma is when we get him in the pockets and he can actually link up one-on-one with a centre-back. What he did today was hug the touchline, and that's where he's really ineffective. I think last week against Birmingham, when he was hugging the touchline, he was trying to do too much, holding on to it too long, trying to take on two players. And then what happens? We get Wilshere on the ball. He feeds it through the lines to Danjuma, who's one-on-one with the centre-back, goal. And Danjuma, that's where we need to get him almost in a false number 9 position because that's where he hurts teams. He scored goals like that against Bristol City. But when he just hugs that touchline, doesn't really do a lot. And he's obviously not a player like who's going to cross the ball and create something for someone, I don't think, really.
No. So you're in Victoria in Australia, aren't you, David?
I sure am, Melbourne. Yeah, we're on a 5-day lockdown now.
Yeah, I heard about that because there are a few cases, and in Australia, you're very quick to react, aren't you? So
yeah. Our premier likes to throw us into lockdown a few times.
Yeah. So what is it? 1:56 in the morning where you are, or something? What time is it?
Sure is. Yeah.
Blimey. So
this is early. I'm normally just about to watch the game start.
Yeah. How are you not asleep after that performance? Because it was dull, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really, really poor. It was a waste of a game, really. I just wonder whether we've actually, in training, practiced against 2 banks of 4 defending us, because we have no idea how to even try to break it down. And it's happened a lot of times this season when teams just sit back and defend against us. We just can't break them down. So I mean, yeah, those are just my thoughts from the game. It was just really, really poor and just lack of ideas, and forced us to keep going sideways and try and retain possession.
He makes a good point, doesn't he, Aaron?
He does, yeah. I mean, I wasn't surprised that Forest sat deep. That's how Houghton plays. He went for the draw. It was always going to be difficult to find space. And I would say, as others have said, we looked solid. I think Pearson and Lerma give us that protection, which we've been crying out for some time. However, I think 2 conundrums for me. First, Kirk's already touched on, is Danjuma. We're just not, it was noticeable against Burnley. It was the best team performance of the season, and he wasn't in it. Now, we all know what he's given us this season. He's produced flashes of brilliance from nowhere to win this game single-handedly. So I'm not for 1 minute saying he shouldn't be involved. But I wonder, number one, if he's a better impact sub, or if he's going to start, as Kirk said, potentially even up front without Dom, up front with Sam, potentially. And then the other conundrum for me is Lewis Cook, because, as I just said, we look so much more solid with Pearson and Lerma in that 2, without a doubt. And I thought Pearson was exceptional. I thought Jeff was exceptional as well. But then where do we get Lewis Cook in the team? Because he's been so dynamic for us this season. And what he does offer compared to the other 2 is that creativity with the pass, driving forward with the ball. I don't think he can play at the front of a diamond in the same way that Wilshere obviously plays and that Billing played against Burnley. So it is a conundrum, and it's not easy, because if you don't take Pearson or Lerma out of the team, you're going to lose a bit of that solidity. So it's difficult. However, it feels like 2 points dropped to me, and the biggest thing for me is that I just do not understand why Surridge isn't starting. We've touched on this time and time again. Every game he plays, he creates problems, scores invariably. We win the game. He's a handful. I don't know what else he has to do. And Shane Long started okay, but he just wasn't running the channels. He wasn't holding the ball up as well as I know he can do. And 10 minutes for Surridge just isn't long enough. We were screaming. Me and the boys were screaming for him to come on. First we should have started, but come on at half time, if not 60 minutes. And it was just crying out for Surridge to come on.
Yeah, it was. It was a very uninspiring performance again from Shane Long, wasn't it, David?
Yeah. Look, I mean, he tries hard, but you're right. With Sam Surridge in there, he's a handful for the defenders, and he just causes a lot more problems than any. Well, Solanke's been good this season, but yeah, Surridge in that team would have made a huge difference, I think.
Yeah, Kirk, do you think Sam really should be starting in our next match now? Because, well, unless that contractual obligation is actually the case, as someone said earlier.
I mean, I've pointed it out quite a few times. He's never really been rewarded for performances he's brought to our team this season. He's scored goals, he's created stuff, he's been an outlet, and he seems in his mind, he must think, if I have a good game, I'm probably not going to play in the next 3, because that's how his season's gone. I can only agree, though, that I think there is a contractual agreement with Shane Long that he plays a certain amount of games, because he just wouldn't have come and dropped down a division if that's not the case. I don't know that if it's true, but I'm sure there's a good chance it is, and that's probably why he started today. I thought Shane Long wasn't too bad, but that's Shane Long. I don't expect him to score goals. He's never been blistering in his career. He's only ever scored more than 10 goals in a season twice in his whole career. And one of them was for Reading about 10 years ago. So he was never the answer. I said that to you on transfer deadline day. He didn't solve the problem.
But is that a thing that actually happens? So in some players' short-term loan deals or whatever, it is sort of in the contract that they must play a certain amount of games? Because surely it would be foolish of our board or whoever's negotiating the deal to do that based on his form for Southampton, which, let's be fair, a lot of Southampton fans are happy to wash their hands of him. And yet, we've got him, a player that's not in form, and we're having to play him for a certain amount of games. It seems ludicrous if that is the case.
I mean, a lot seems to fall on a player's hands now, where they can control those negotiations, in my eyes, and they can get stipulations put in those contracts. I do think there's something in that he plays a certain amount of games. It is what it is, I'm afraid, and he's come down here and he's going to want to. He's at 34 now, so he's going to want to play as much football as he can. Sam Surridge is, still learning his trade, but as I said, he's had an impact, and we all know that Sam Surridge should have been playing today after Tuesday's performance. He was absolutely fantastic, but it didn't shock me when I saw Shane Long starting for that pure reason that he's come here and he's probably based it on that he'll get game time.
So, David, what do we need to do to change it up in our next match? Any personnel you'd like to see being changed? I mean, I'm sure that Sam Surridge you'd like to be brought in, but anyone else you think deserves to start?
Oh, it's a good question. I like Aaron's point that Lewis Cook is our most creative midfielder, but if he can only play as a deep-lying midfielder, where you've got Lerma and Pearson in at the moment, and it's a trade-off. So I think Billing should possibly come in, which for me is I never thought I'd see the day where I said he should come in. But the way he played against Burnley, he deserves that chance to shine again, I think. Yeah, completely. Any closing remarks, Aaron?
Yeah, it was frustrating. We couldn't get the ball to Jack. Jack couldn't influence the game. We know what he can do. I don't know if Pearson's injured. He obviously hurt his ankle and he seemed to limp off a bit. So the hand might be forced anyway on against Rotherham. That Lewis Cook will obviously start if Ben's out. It's difficult. I would actually go 2 up front against Rotherham. If Shane Long's got to play, then play Surridge up with him, and then it actually might give Long some help, and then Surridge can be the usual handful that he is. Then you have to either play Junior has to start for me, and then it's a case of Danjuma or Brooks on the other wing. Yeah, that's what I would do.
I mean, I'm tempted to throw Danjuma up top now. He's so ineffective when he's so wide and hugging that touchline. And if you look at all the goals he's scored, it's when he's cut inside the 18-yard box. And he just needs that chance. And like you said, he's a player that can be frustrating for 5 minutes, but he'll win you the game. He just needs one moment of brilliance. And he did that last week to get us back in the game. I think he needs to maybe go closer to whoever's playing up top. Like you've said as well, Aaron. I think that's where we're going to be able to hurt teams.
We know Danjuma can finish. He's clinical. He's probably one of the best finishers in the club, and he's got pace. So it seems, and he won't have to worry about defending if he plays one of the 2 up front. So maybe that is the way to go. Yeah.
Well, we're going to switch it up. Thank you very much, guys, for coming on in. Aaron, thanks so much.
Thank you. See you soon, guys.
Cheers, mate. And also, David.
Cheers, thank you.
Enjoy your sleep, mate. Enjoy your sleep.
Yeah,
cheers, buddy.
time for bed. See you guys.
Good man. Good man. Right, we've got James coming in next. Kirk, just a quick chat. about Cherries Red Army, which is your YouTube channel, which is gaining momentum, and you've got some good stuff coming up as well, haven't you? People can find you by typing in Cherries Red Army on YouTube and follow you at Cherries Red Army. But you've got an interview with an ex-AFC Bournemouth player coming up, haven't you?
Yes, we have. We've got a really exciting week coming up. So I'll do a post-match reaction video for this. So I'll try and keep it as exciting as possible. We haven't got
good luck with that.
We haven't got a live preview show for Rotherham, but there will be a preview video coming out on Thursday. We've got an interview with Neil Young. So join us for that at 8 p.m. on Thursday. I'm going to try and do it like a premiere so people can actually chat during the show. So that's an attempt. And then on Friday, just confirming it right now, but we might have Michael Botto joining us for the match preview of QPR.
Amazing. How good is that? Oh, what a start.
So yeah, keep subscribing, keep supporting the channel. Thank you for everyone's support, and cheers for you, Sam, as well.
Nice one. Superb. Coach Toby there from Cherries Red Army. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, mate.
Cheers.
Enjoy your weekend. I'm sure it'll be better than what you experienced so far. Anyway, nice one.
Cheers,
that's Kirk there, and brilliant to have him on. And if you want to take part today, the link is at the bottom of the screen. It's not going to go on too long today, I don't think, which is good for me. AFCBpodcast.com/take part. We got James coming in. Jim Bob, how are you, sir?
I'm not bad. How are you, Sam? You all right?
Yeah, very good, mate. We've got Jamie Williams as well. Jamie, how's it going?
Not too bad,
Yeah, and Filippo, the man, the legend from Italy. I don't know what it is, Filippo. When you're on screen, you're always at the bottom left. I don't know why that is, but you're just always at the very bottom left of the screen. Nice to see you, sir.
I don't know.
Firstly, we'll come to James, though. James, 0-0 against Forest. At the start of the season, you'd look at that as a good result, but based on the league table, you think we maybe should have got something, but then you can flick it back to form. Forest are in good form. We're not. Maybe it's fair.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I've got loads done during the match. Organised my spice rack, did some washing, that sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think this Forest side are a very, very different side to the one that we played earlier in the season, and very typical of Chris Hughton's side. So just very well organised, high press, very little risk. And I think they showed how poor Burnley were in the week, really. And it's typical as well of a game where the main threats are Glenn Murray and Shane Long up front. Just very stagnated, very difficult. I mean, Shane Long's, I love him. He's not a footballer, but he tries so hard. He runs so much, and he brings what we were crying out for 4 or 5 games ago to the side. And I think overall we did well given the Cook injury so early. So that happens. The captain's gone. We have to, replace him in the back four. Carter Vickers plays great in that position in the centre back for a prop forward. I think he's fantastic. But I'm really worried about the lack of movement at times all over the pitch, especially down the rings. There are times, down the wings where Rico looks like he's never met any of his squad mates before. It's really, it's tough to watch at times, and I'm not sure what Surridge has to do to guarantee a start in this side. And it's certainly more than 8.5 minutes. A shout out to him as well because he wore short sleeves today, which I thought was great because Brooks came on in long sleeves and gloves and was really looking like really quite annoyed that he was being brought on and had to take his coat off, whereas Surridge was like, yeah, mate, get me on. And the man of the match for me, Pearson, I love him. I've only seen a little bit of him, but he's fantastic, isn't he? And if Bournemouth were to bring out a range of like craft IPAs with Ben Pearson's face on it, I'd buy a crate of those straight away. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I thought, what I like about Ben Pearson, he is industrious and he also, tries to get back as soon as he can to pop on the free for all. And here he is, Jamie. How are you, mate? A lot of people making the comparison again, even though I pointed it out on Twitter. But you could be Ben Pearson and no one would know. But frustrating performance today, Jamie, wasn't it?
Yeah, first of all, I got to get his shirt on his name on the shirt next season. I think just because.
Oh my god!
I'll be signing autographs. I think. But no, to be honest, it wasn't a great performance. At the end of the day, we had no shots on target, and whenever that happens, it's against any team really, it's not acceptable. But in reality, I said on Kirk's channel, Cherries Red Army, on the live chat, I'd take a draw going into this. They were third in the form table. They're a completely different side we played in earlier in the season. They've taken 13 points at the last 18. A point for both teams sort of is sufficient in terms of we're not going to get into the top 2 realistically. all right, we could put a challenge on it, but it's just not going to happen. A point is okay as long as it's backed up by 3 against Rotherham. It keeps Blackburn and Middlesbrough at least 2 wins behind us in terms of catching us up. All right, there's a lot of games to go, but a clean sheet moving forward, I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. At the end of the day, we could have lost. They had the better chances in the game. We need to do more, but clean sheet, beat Rotherham is a good week.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. So let's hope that we get the 3 points against Rotherham were a tough side, and they knew how to combat us at their place at the New York Stadium. I just hope that we've got too much for them in the game in the week. Filippo, watching that in Rome. Firstly, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, Sam. But the emoticons here in the name says it all. I am near the bed because it was a sleep performance.
Yeah.
So yeah, but jokes apart, today my opinion is that as Jay said, we finished the game with no shots on target. So clearly was a boring performance, and also I think that today we had a lack of creativity in the attack, and also too slow with the ball. And maybe thanks, Tom. And maybe you said at the beginning, Sam, more of Sam Surridge and Philip Billing, our heroes on Tuesday night against Burnley. I know that we have to make rotation because it's a particular season, games every 3 weeks, games every 3 days, and so we have to rotate. But really hope that they are gonna start against Rotherham on Wednesday.
Tom makes a good point, James, saying he wonders what the reaction would have been if this performance / result came 2 weeks ago. What would it have been like?
What under Tyndall, or as Woodgate's first match?
Under JT.
Under JT. At the end of that run of 5, I think the same. I think it would. I think we still would have been in the same position. I think it's like I said. I think that Forest side is a very difficult one to beat at the moment. I think just in the way that they set themselves up. We come off a big result, in the middle of the week. I think the question to sort of like go forward on it is do you? I mean, I was of the thinking that we just don't give it to Woodgate while he's still winning. And we keep telling him, oh no, if you keep winning, you might be in with a shot. But if you lose, then we're going to bring someone else in. I thought that was going to be like the theory going forward, and then we go straight into the automatics. No, I think it was. I don't think it was as bad as like Reading away, for example, which was peak terrible. So I think there's an improvement in there. There's organisation. They're looking like they're trying and they're hungry for it again. It was just a really, really, really frustrating team to play against today, I thought.
Yeah, we're talking about all our deficiencies, Jamie, but Forest do deserve some credit, don't they?
They're an organised team. At the end of the day, they press well. They were compact like when they got behind the ball. They're just what you would expect a Chris Hughton side to be. And we've obviously people remember the 5-0 away at Brighton, but that's an anomaly in terms of like how we usually play against Chris Hughton sides. I don't think it was a bad result. It was what I expected, a draw from the game. But yeah, it's the movement from the attackers. Like people can blame the likes of Pearson, Lerma, Carter Vickers, Rico, Kelly, Cook when he was on there, Smith for like passing it between themselves at the back. But I've said it on previous match reviews. It's the distances between players. You just see they've got the ball at the back. They're passing it between each other. But then you just got a line of at least 4 players up front, maybe 5. And they're just not moving. Stanislas was doing it all right, coming off the lines and getting linked up, and Smith was going on the overlap. But other than that, where we got a couple of crosses into the box, there's just not enough movement. Jack Wilshere's not in the game. Arnie's not in the game. And that comes from the training pitch. That comes from just repetitiveness, patterns of play. And at the moment, we don't have it. And I don't think, as much as Woodgate's done a good job in terms of results so far, in terms of the performances, it couldn't get much worse from when JT left. At the end of the day, we couldn't pass to each other, and everything was sort of down. Like it couldn't. It was the only way was up from there. We're doing at the moment like sort of the bare minimum. We were a bit lucky to beat Birmingham, in my opinion. Burnley played a scratch side, and we took advantage of that. At the end of the day, we had better players on the pitch than Burnley did as an 11 on Wednesday, in my opinion. Today was okay. But now the question is, we need to beat Rotherham. We need to beat QPR because Forest are on form. QPR are on a team that's not particularly on form. Rotherham haven't played again today. I think their game's postponed, and I think they postponed the other week as well. So they're without match rhythm coming into our game. So we need to go and get the next 2 results. That's going to be a lot in terms of judging the performances, and then obviously results. Because I said a couple of weeks, I think against Birmingham actually, how we play for the rest of the season, I don't care if it's boring. I really don't. It's not going to be a great watch, but at the end of the day, for the long-term implications of this club, it's the results that matter. If we beat Rotherham 1-0 with a boring performance, or we beat QPR 1-0 with a boring performance, no one's going to care because we're going to have 6 points on the board and we're going to be in a much healthier position ahead of Middlesbrough and Blackburn. Long-term, obviously, you want a performance to improve, but the results are what all that matters for the rest of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah. Before we go, James,
Jamie.
Go on. Yeah. How long does it take for a manager to stamp his authority? And, it could be 3 games we've had. As Jamie said, we sort of laboured to a win over Birmingham. Burnley, I thought, were pretty poor. And today, a very well-drilled Chris Hughton side. Very defensive, as we probably expected. Very hard to break down. You kind of made a quip there about, let's just say that we haven't employed a manager until, like if he keeps not losing, then why not keep him on? But how long will we see the Woodgate brand come through, do you think?
The Woodgate brand,
or whatever that is.
I think we've probably seen it. I don't know. It's there's so many variables and so many differing factors in terms of like the club morale, the players that you've got, the players that you've got that you don't want there, the players that you got that you want to bring in, whether you're in a promotion push, whether you're in a relegation push, wherever, how you react to the owners. There's so many different factors. I can't see like the signings that Tyndall brought in Long and Pearson, as has been alluded to before, weren't the solution to the problem. They're reinforcements, and as I said at the time when we signed Wilshere, I would love Wilshere there to reinforce a promotion push, not to save one. It felt like he was brought in to save our promotion push. Sometimes managers can come in and have an immediate impact. The worry for me is, and I keep looking back at these bookies odds for these managers, these 10 managers on this list, nothing's inspiring me. It's one of the most drab list of potential managers that's been out there for any sort of reasonable sized club, really. So it could be an immediate impact. It could be someone to come in and make an immediate impact and save our season and push us all the way to 2nd or 1st place. I doubt it. I doubt it, and I don't know where we go. It has to. I think the next decision has to be sort of like a long-term plan. I think. Yeah. With regards to who's coming in, because the guy who's coming in is probably going to be the guy who's going to try and get us promoted next season, not this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's right. Your time is running out.
Or maybe in the playoff.
Or maybe in the playoff.
At the end of the day, that's the thing. At the end of the day, whether we finish 6th or 3rd, we're not going to finish as high as that because Swansea. It does not matter. At the end of the day, the prior 46 games have no impact really. Obviously, you want to like the last sort of maybe 5-6 games. You want to be going into the playoffs in sort of into a decent run of form. You don't want to be stumbling in there like out of form. We're then trying to pick yourselves. Like we've seen what the confidence does to a football team. But at the end of the day, if we get into 6th position, we've got a chance to go up. I personally can't see Woodgate getting it for. And if he does get it, he'll get it for the rest of the season. But I think there's going to be a new manager named probably prior to the QPR game. I would imagine something like that. But at the end of the day, we've just got to finish in the top 6, wherever that is. It doesn't home, especially this season. Normally, you could say, if you finish 3rd, you get a home tie 2nd. That might be an impact. But with the COVID situation, home and away really doesn't matter. So if we finish in the top 6, we've got as much chance as anybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Jamie, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks very much. And also to Jim Bob as well. James, thanks so much, mate.
Thanks, mate. Take care.
Take care. And Filippo, before you go, we can't not say goodbye without you saying your catchphrase, but where would you like to see improvements?
Look, Sam, I only want the team to keep that the display of position because now I say that the team would have been likely not to watch the table, but if we really want to watch, Swansea is going really up, as also two rearranged games because today's game was postponed, so there is a big space between us and the teams who are upper than us. I mean the top 3 teams. So let's only trying to keep this playoff position, and then we will see. So
yeah, brilliant. Filippo, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much, Sam. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries. I love it. Cheers, thank you so much.
See you on Wednesday. See you on Wednesday, Sam. Bye bye.
Morgan says hi, by the way, as ever.
Yeah. Hi, Morgan. I had a lovely chat with him on Thursday night. Yeah, we had a video call and we talk about everything about the Cherries. Also, we talk about our respective COVID-19 situation in our countries, and we show ourselves, our kids. He showed me his tickets. He had lots and lots of away days, and lovely chat, lovely time. I will have another maybe.
Tell everyone how old you are, Filippo.
I am 20 years old.
You know what? I wasn't sure how old you were at all, because all I see is just a face. And, faces can be any age. And I don't know why. I just assumed that you were a little bit older, but fair play, mate.
Yeah, because of the bird, isn't it?
Probably. But yeah, brilliant to have you on.
Everybody say that to me. Yeah, you look older, you look bigger.
It's fair to say that during your teenage years, you experienced the best of AFC Bournemouth. So, yeah, you got to witness some really good stuff in the Premier League, and hopefully we'll go back there soon. Filippo, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, Sam, again. Up the cherries. Bye-bye. See you on Wednesday.
See you on Wednesday. Right, quick chat with a friend of Ethan called James Reed. So we're going to bring him on now. It's only going to be brief because we are just running out of time. But hello, James. You all right? How are you, mate?
Yeah.
Good. What did you think of that performance today? Thumbs up?
Yeah.
It was okay. Are we going to win our next match, though? That's the big question.
Yeah.
We are. What's the score going to be in our next match? Bournemouth going to win what? Like 1-0? Is it going to be 2-0? He's just put it on private chat here.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. He's just put it on private chat. 9-0. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
James, you're an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. Feel free to come on again. James is going for a 9-0 in our next match. If that happens, brilliant. James, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Cheers, buddy. All the best and up the cherries. Heather's here as well. Heather, you all right?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. You?
Bored? I mean, bored? Yeah, because it was pretty dire.
Twitter was quite entertaining.
Tell me about Twitter, because I've not seen much of it today. In fact, Heather, in fact, whilst you're with us, I might go through the 5-word match reports, because it's a tweet I always put out, but I always forget to actually reference it. So we'll go and see what some people say, and it'll be interesting because obviously we've seen a number of 5-word match reports over through the live chat here, but this is what people are saying over on Twitter. So 5-word match reports, here we go. No cherries in this forest, says Matthew. Yeah, very good. James McCaffrey, not one shot on target. Yeah, that's scary. Stanislas came close. Goal line saved by Pearson. Yeah, that was when Glenn Murray had around the corner that was cleared off the line. I'm not sure Begovic would have got there, Sam, need on time, said Daniel. Yeah, should have been on earlier. Too few cooks spoil broth, said Richard. Richard, That's a handshake. If I'm Paul Hollywood, that's a handshake for that one. Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, Steve went off early and no Lewis. Be braver on the ball, said Minty. Neil Dawson, solid organisation, but creatively poor. Maybe that's the Woodgate coming out in the team. Consistency, a bridge too far, said Nobby Dog. Yawn, was there a game? Klopp clipped, but Woody wasted, said Rob. Danny Bill forgot how to pass forward. James is back again. We just watched Walking Football. Back to the old routine, said Robbie there. Snooze fest, laboured, lackluster, dreary, crap. No shots on target, unacceptable. Lack of tempo, desire, ideas. Can't sleep, watch this tonight. Nearly fell asleep watching it. Can we blame the players now, said Tej. Really? Is that 4? Boring, yeah. And Abby said subs needed on much sooner. I mean, yeah, we can go through all of them, but it was pretty shocking. And Twitter, Heather, yeah, tell me about the reactions. Apart from the 5-word match reports, I've not seen much of it. What were people saying?
There was a lot of chat about Arnie just taking the captain's armband.
So what was that? So obviously, I mean, like Steve Cook was forced off, and I presume...
Yeah, he just kind of dropped it by Arnie. Yeah. And I don't know whether he said to him, like, give it to Begovic or anything, but Arnie just took it on himself to...
He just whacked it on his arm. Because, when you think of senior players within that side, yeah, maybe Begovic or Stanislas, maybe, but or Adam Smith, potentially. But, yeah, Dan Juma just wore it. And... But as soon as he had that armband, it was like he was thinking like a captain and not concentrating on his own game because he wasn't overly effective. There weren't many players that were effective today, were there?
No, it was like a different team from Tuesday.
Mm.
I mean, it was a little bit of a different team, but there were still some of the main players.
Mm.
But I think we've got to take a positive from it that 2-3 weeks ago we would have lost that game, I reckon. You
know what? You make a very good point, actually. And you know what? You're probably right, actually, because, Ben Pearson was in the right place at the right time in the second half when Glenn Murray had that header. We cleared it off the line. A few weeks ago, it had just been our luck that, that ball would have gone in. But it is still quite worrying that we're not getting many shots on target, though, isn't it? Because all the attacking players that we've got, and I think the closest we got, was it Junior Stanislas, maybe?
Yeah, he had, I think, 1 or 2 goes, and I think there was somebody else that had 1 shot, but there really wasn't a lot of work for their goalkeeper to do.
That wasn't. So which players do you think should be starting in our next match?
I think put Surridge on to start, which probably unlikely because he doesn't seem to get a start for some reason.
I know.
Billing, well, I'm always going to pick him on ice. So
Phil Brill, as no one has ever called him before, but apparently he has been called Phil Brill.
But he seemed to work quite well between Lerma and Pearson, though. So that 3 sort of line up would be good, and maybe have 2 at the front rather than just the 1.
Yeah,
but other than that, I don't really.
Okay, and thoughts on new manager? Is there anyone that you would quite like to be in the hot seat?
I have no clue because, as you know, I've only really been watching football since June, so I don't know like the records of any of them. So I'm easy.
That's absolutely fair enough. And you know what? I mean, I know you've only just started watching for a short amount of time, but sometimes on some games this season, it's almost like the players had only just started playing when you started watching because they've been that bad. But I tell you what, Heather, really appreciate your view. Thank you for coming on. Thankfully, we didn't need a moderator today in chat, but you may be moderating a few future live chats if it gets a bit tense like that Sheffield Wednesday one did, because that was a bit manic.
That was awful.
Heather, thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.
See you soon. Take care. Thank you very much. So there we go. We've been less than an hour today, which is brilliant. If you want to support this channel, you go to afcbpodcast.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. Lots of things to pay for every month, including StreamYard itself, our pod provider platform, and loads of other things. But what we got coming up? Ted McDougall, part 2. It was only going to be 1 part, but he got halfway through his career. We realised an hour has gone. We thought, shall we break it up? So yeah, part 2 is coming on Sunday night at 8 o'clock. And what we'll do is also give away our 3 Ted McDo goal books as well in the meantime. So if you want to enter, there's still time. You go to afcbpodcast.com/TED. And on there, you can just enter by answering who was the first AFC Bournemouth manager to have signed him. He had 2 spells at AFC Bournemouth. It's the first one, we're wondering. And the answer might be Freddie Cox. I'm giving you a hint there. But make sure you're in to win, and then we'll do the draw on the show tomorrow night. Obviously, the free-for-alls are coming your way, so do subscribe too. Of course, we're in a semi-final. You never know, we might be. We're in a quarter-final against Southampton. Myself and Tom will be doing a watch long, and by then we're hoping to be up to 3,000 subscribers. So share Back of the Net with your friends. We're about 150, 160 off. We'd really appreciate it if you could help spread the word. And obviously you're very welcome on whenever you want to come on as well. So we'll take anyone, male, female, young, old, whatever. If you want to have your say about AFC Bournemouth, it is an open forum to do so. Until the next show, thanks for watching. See you next time.